Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Pulp Blotter on 22 panels. I'm joined by Mark Pracht, Sean Harklerode, Chicago area actors, playwright, that sort of thing. Anybody got anything to plug before I forget?
Nothing right now.
No.
We're all between stuff.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll give a shout out to Psychocomicology's purchase of modern age comics in Algonquin. Um, Head out there and see Edgar and Lee, and hopefully one day me. Um, and yeah, buy your comics and hang out and have place. It's a huge store, so I'm looking forward to what can be done with it.
Huge. It's huge.
It is. It's really big. Um,
Huge.
Huge.
so Jonah Hex.
And for our listeners, we're meeting much earlier in the morning than we usually do. So if I'm a little slower on the uptake, uh, I've only had one cup of coffee, not four.
I'm actually about to start my first cup of coffee, so
Anyway,
I moved straight to Coca-Cola
in the glass bottles, no less.
in the glass bottles.
I mean the glass
Is it
bottles are better.
is
Yeah.
it Mexican Coca-Cola? Is it full
No,
sugar?
this is no, they do these around Christmas time.
Yeah.
I think you can get them around all the time, but they do them around Christmas especially. You can get them a little cheaper.
So see
Uh,
the
one I did like to our subject today, and it was it was really funny. I was doing another podcast about a week ago. I
cool.
won't
Which
I
one?
won't Splash Pages.
Cool. I don't know them.
And one of their questions to me at the end was like, what would be your dream project to work on? And I said, if somebody would let me write Jonah Hex, I would be all in. So
I think you
doesn't
could turn
matter.
Jonah Hex into a play.
I, I know you could turn it into a play, but
Yeah.
but
So reach out to
yeah,
those people at Netflix. Get them during
hey man,
transition when they're saying yes to everything.
well, you know what? This is really off subject, but I've been listening to a lot of people who like I have a my social media sphere has a lot of like writers and people who work in stuff like that, and they were talking about how there's a lot of fear because apparently a lot of people have pitched projects to Netflix as far as comic book adaptations, and Netflix is like, we have no interest whatsoever in anything print. And now that company owns DC Comics.
Yeah.
And that's scary for a lot of people. And
Though the one thing I will toss out is what Heidi McDonald said, which is that um, the success of the recent Superman movie probably protects it at least for now.
I think that that protects DC Entertainment. I don't know that that protects their publishing arm. Sean and I were actually talking about this the other day, like we're walking into comic shops and just seeing reprint issue after reprint issue after reprint issue and
Yeah.
uh you know facsimile issues and editions, and I'm like, man, that does not, I mean, and we all know that the comic industry is not entirely DC and Marvel, but especially for like comic shops and stuff, like they're important,
Yeah.
and for the health of the industry. And but the idea that, you know, like those facsimile, like at a certain point, I think the facsimile thing is sort of like, huh? Yeah. I mean, like,
I
yeah, we're
mean,
doing
really,
we're doing a
It was
yeah,
facsimile. Go ahead.
it was a
now that
nice
there are
novelty for a while.
yeah,
Yeah.
but now that there are variant covers on facsimile editions, in some ways I think it's as much a way to have more variants out there, which I have a love-hate relationship with. The stores that know how to use them, it works great for. The stores that have that right audience, it works great for. Um, and it's certainly a good thing for cover artists, because it's a quick 500 to $1,000 to do a cover, which, um, is
I
like
mean, I
four
mean,
or
I
five
would,
interior pages.
I think that for myself, I mean, and this is, like I said, this is way off the subject matter, what we're supposed to talk about, but like if I'm going to buy a facsimile edition of something, I don't want a variant cover.
I
I want the
understand this. I
I
just
I want
I
the
just but all I'm saying is I think when it's facsimile stuff, it's even easier for a store to know whether it's worth them buying. So you don't have stores buying things that they're not going to be able to sell
sure.
as commonly, while still making that variant cover market happy, because it's out there, they can do their special orders or go to the stores that know they can sell them, and being able to pay more artists.
Sure.
So as much as I think they're dumb,
I mean, yeah, look, everybody should buy what they want to buy. I'm not saying that. I just, to me,
and,
it's like the
and I guess what I'm saying is when it's on a facsimile rather than a new comic, it makes it that much easier for the store to know whether or not it's worth them.
sure.
Yeah.
With a
I
But I
new
mean,
mean,
comic, you never know which cover is. I
I,
mean, a cover's somewhat safe, but after that,
well,
I like having the like when they did number ones and then they did Crisis and Secret Wars. There's a way to have those comics out that I didn't feel I needed to. I could read them in their original format and not feel like I needed to keep them in a vault, right?
yeah.
right.
Um,
Though I don't
Well,
keep my Secret Wars in a vault.
and well, yes.
I keep my Secret Wars in a little box that says from the vault of Victor Von Doom because I thought that was
Oh, okay.
Doom.
I think I
Well, I
actually have
mean, like,
three
look,
sets of Secret Wars.
but that I thought that when they announced that the Crisis facsimiles, I was like, oh, you're gonna do a whole year of this. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like, and like to me, that's a watershed series that is like I read that series now and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like I kind of wish they had gone all the way with it and just kept to it, but whatever, they got to readjust. But anyway, like it was a groundbreaking idea and like doing it, what was it, 40 years after the fact? Like that's awesome.
Right.
All the reprinting of the tabloid editions, like Sean and I have talked about that. Those things are awesome, and uh like when we were doing Mark of Cain, the cast got these, facsimile editions of Detective 27 and signed them. And I love that. I mean, and,
Right.
and the fact is that, I can have the cast all sign it and it doesn't feel like I'm destroying something. Even though our director did, but whatever. But I mean, it's like those kind of like Detective 27, Batman #1, Action #1, Superman #1. Like I understand like why you would want a facsimile edition, especially like I think that this Detective 27 is actually it's in modern size rather than Golden Age size.
Right.
Like I dig the fact that they're printing them in Golden Age size now. I mean, like I
Yeah.
think that's cool. But I mean, like it's also like I see these things and I'm like, why are you doing a facsimile of like Batman #14 that doesn't seem to have any historical relevance, you know? I mean, and maybe it's the first appearance of some villain or something, and I'm just not picking up on that or whatever. But it just seems like, okay, you know, it
Yeah.
all confuses me.
Yeah, no, I mean, to a certain extent, they've always confused me, particularly the ones that um, aren't like
Historically relevant,
big time historically relevant.
right?
Um, but what I will say is that like something that was less true of comic shops 20 years ago than it is now is that they had their own personality. Um, like what makes a great independent bookstore now makes a great independent comic shop, which is that they're built around the owner's theme. You know, it used to be everybody ordered everything or most of everything, or there was a really good, there's a pecking order. It's like, okay, if I'm not ordering everything, I'm ordering everything put out by Marvel, DC, Dark Horse Image, or Image Dark Horse, depending on the years, right? Um, and now, I mean, the challenge for owners is they have to pick and choose more wisely rather than they're essentially just being the comic shop starter kit.
Right. Well,
Um,
yeah, but at the same
but the
time,
advantage to both owners and consumers is that they can personalize and work to what fits their sales scheme, their personality, their whatever more.
oh
Um,
no, I get that. I mean,
yeah.
like, look, but and certainly, like, if you're gonna do, if I was running a shop, right, I'd be spending a lot of time with these uh Jesus, the word just escaped me, facsimiles. Because like I would be like, okay, that's weird. But I mean, like, I mean, like, I can't imagine a comic shop not ordering every new Marvel comic or every new, at least several issues of a new DC or Marvel comic, right?
Are we talking a new first issue or are we talking a
I'm talking about the currently running series.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I mean Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman guarantee, but some of the lesser titles and some of the miniseries by issue two or three, they're pull box only at a lot of stores.
see that's crazy to me. That
I
I mean,
mean,
like, yeah,
but
I mean,
those are
like,
but those are the stores that are heavier on graphic novels or
oh, sure. No, no, no. Look, man, I'm
or
not. I
don't
just
have strong foot traffic. I mean, it
right,
depends on your store,
right.
you know.
Oh no, yeah, no. Look, what was that place over on Western that was on the like it was the basement floor of that place that was
Variety Comics.
yeah, and it was like, and that guy was like it was like old school comic shop. That dude was
Love
like,
that place.
but that guy was like, you walked in there and he's like, who the hell are you? You know.
Yep.
And it's like, but like I it was just piles of crap in there. And but and obviously we're past that now. But that guy
Not
didn't have
entirely. I've
any
been in shops
Funko
like that.
Pops. Um,
Yeah, well, okay. I'm not. I almost named the junkiest shop that I know, but I won't.
well, I mean, and the thing
I'll
is
share
that
that privately because I mean I think he knows he's got a junkie shop. But uh, remember
oh man,
Larry's up on Devon? That was
I remember like when we were doing the plays and I was trying to go around to all the comic shops I could find and drop off postcards and stuff. I went in some places that I was just like, what is this a business?
Well, and that's one of the weird things about a comic shop.
Oh yeah.
There are lots of comic shops that can keep the lights on with two or three major pull people. So as
Mhm.
long and sometimes it's even easy major pull people. Like almost every shop I've ever known has like one customer who gets everything DC, like literally everything DC, or
Yeah.
everything Marvel, or sometimes both.
Well, I mean, and that's, I mean, like to bring this back around, and then we can get on to talking about
Right.
something
Jonah Hex.
Jonah
super
Hex.
cool. Yeah. But I mean, like, that's what's scary about this Netflix thing is that I do think there is a pretty reasonable chance that they may shut down all of their publishing or sell off the publishing to somebody else,
Right.
you know.
Okay.
And
You
but
said Batman number four,
14.
I, 14.
14.
I was just picking a number out of the air.
Okay. Well, but it is kind of ironic and could be a really one of the um one of the stories in Batman number 14 is swastika over the White House. I can see why
uh,
people would want a facsimile of that right now. It also has
uh,
the case Batman failed to solve.
so I picked a number out of the air that actually has.
Well, I know they're doing a facsimile of Sensation number 38, which is the cover is Wonder Woman with Santa's bag, on a rooftop. So that's coming out next week. I think
And
New
that's
Gods number one is getting a
yeah, yeah. I
issue.
saw that. I mean, like it's I don't know. I think that
And
this
otherwise, most of the characters are making their only appearance.
But I think they're reprinting Two Face's first appearance soon.
There is a
I might
Penguin
have to
story.
I might have to get that. I mean, Two-Face is my favorite Batman villain. Anyway,
Gee, if only
Actually, I'm going to
Jonah
ask an
Hex.
aside just because we're considering
if
taking a
only
deeper dive into it at some point. If Two-Face is your favorite Batman villain, are you a big fan of the Long Halloween trilogy or
I
other
have
feelings on it?
a page from, I believe, the third issue. I have the
Okay.
original artwork for that on my wall.
Okay.
I can't remember what page, what issue,
But
and it's a Two-Face page.
right. But you also like Dark Victory and then Last Halloween or
I have I like Dark Victory. I like Long Halloween. I actually really like all of those. There's many things about them that amuse me. I think Jeff Loeb as a writer is uh, he 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 does a lot of things that I kind of go, oh, okay, I know where you got that. Like
right.
like there's a lot of Godfather riffs and stuff like that, and I I have kind of I have this strange relationship with Jeff Loeb. So that's
No,
I
it just
kind
it came up between Phil and I on the regular episode recently.
Mhm.
Um and
No,
and
I actually love Long Halloween and
I view the three of them, including the most recently finished one, as kind of the saga of Two-Face.
mhm.
And also as hands down the best work Jeff Loeb has done. I think Jeff Loeb
Oh yeah, 100%.
gets a lot of credit as a great writer really because of those. And I'm not saying he's a bad writer, but I don't like nearly. I mean, he's always best with Tim Sale. So
Always.
Yeah.
after the long Halloween stuff, it's like the Daredevil yellow, Spider-Man blue.
Captain America
Um,
Right.
White.
right.
Yeah.
the stuff
And
that he did with
don't
Sale elsewhere.
Superman for All Seasons actually
Right.
brings me to tears. Actually,
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So I don't
Mark
want to
and
say at
Lana
all
in the
that Jeff
shop.
Loeb is not a good writer, but like he's definitely one of those writers where certain stuff is way better than others.
Well,
Uh
the only thing about it is that he tends to be like, oh, I'll throw in this bit from like Long Halloween is full of Godfather stuff.
oh yeah.
Right.
And I know it doesn't offend me or anything, but it also like and I sometimes chuckle over it and sometimes I kind of groan about it. That's the only thing that I
Yeah.
that it's like, okay, come on, Jeff. We know what this is. Anyway. But anyway, Jonah
Absolutely.
Hex.
Jonah Hex
If you're suggesting a long Halloween book club or something like that, I would
at
be
some point.
interested in doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Or
Yeah.
at least an episode. Yeah.
I picked up last Halloween, but I haven't read it yet. So I've been
I
collecting
enjoyed it.
it.
I I thought it was good. I did miss Tim Sale.
Yeah.
Every time they put in a Tim Sale cover or something, I'd be like, man,
Well, everyone had a Tim Sale cover.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it's what I'm saying is that I would look at the Tim Sale cover and be like, yeah.
No, but I think they did I will say I think they did a good job at curating not only a who's who of great artists to do the issues, but kind of working to their strengths the way sales strengths were worked too. So they weren't being sale, they were being themselves, but having the story.
This actually, again, not
And
Jonah
this actually
Hex,
leads
but
into
whatever.
Jonah Hex because
But yeah, it does lean into Jonah Hex.
that
But
does that's one of
it's
the beauties of this book.
yes, but it's an interesting thing. Like I've talked to you guys. I'm reading this Tomorrow's book about Marshall Rogers' Brightest Days and Darkest Nights, or whatever it's called. I don't remember. It's a great book. Uh, but one of the things that I found really fascinating was that Marshall Rogers died right as he was starting work on a third Dark Detective run with Englehart Scripts.
Mm.
And I was telling you about how apparently, like, DC editorial just hated Marshall Rogers' artwork for some reason. And they, uh, Dan DiDio brought Englehart and Rogers back to do Dark Detective 2. And then they were going to go right into Dark Detective 3. And then Marshall died. And all of these artists were like, we'll finish it. We'll finish it. And we'll have Terry Austin do the inking and we'll finish it in tribute to Marshall. And DC editorial said, nah.
Mm.
I mean, and it's funny because it's exactly what's happening with Last Halloween, or happened with Last Halloween. It's like, okay, we're all gonna jump in and do one issue or two issues or whatever. And man, that's really sad. I don't
I
know.
mean, between the fact that I certainly don't know him personally, and I know some people who like him a fair amount, but since Didio has left that top role, we've heard a lot about um the work environment at DC during Didio's run that makes
Mhm.
me wonder if whatever else there, whatever. I mean, maybe he's a great creator and a great guy, but he doesn't seem to have been a great leader.
Well, I mean, like the whole thing with the yeah, this is but if I'm remembering correctly, this Hex series started while he was there.
Yeah. No, he
Um,
was there.
I mean, I think that uh I really I think New 52 was a real mistake. Um, and we've kind of talked about that. This book transitioned to All-Star Western for New 52, Jonah Hex. And I lost all interest because it became about trying to tie Jonah into the larger DC universe. And I'm like, I don't care about this. You know, I, I want I want these weird spaghetti Western, vaguely horror uh stories. Anyway, but that should lead. Let's talk about Jonah Hex because it's
Yeah,
so
let's
fun.
let's let's
Yeah.
jump into and if we wind up going backwards some, that's okay because like not all of us were through 4 volumes last time, including myself. I think I was in the middle of the 4th volume. But technically, we did Luck Runs Out and Bullets Don't Lie, which are issues 25 to 36 of that Jonah Hex run. And had some really good stuff. Most of it, I think, was single issue story.
Hmm.
I think there might have
Very,
been
very
one
few
3 issue
continued.
story in there.
I
Uh,
always love how there'll be an issue and then like 4 or 5 later, something will come back, some element,
Right.
you know?
right. There are a few of those, like
Hmm.
Return to Devil's Paw, and
Right. But continue. There was a lot of Jordi Bernet.
Hmm.
Um, it had the Darwyn Cooke issue, which is
yeah,
beautiful. Um,
Darwyn. Love Darwyn.
it had the very horror issue with Giuseppe Camuncoli.
oh, the
It was
Grindhouse.
yeah, Grindhouse.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but like I said, in terms of tying the beginning, um, I really appreciate how these stories, like the art is always spot on for the stories, and the stories are often very different from each other.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
the character of Hex is Hex, but like so you know that there's an element of really working with the writers as plotters and working into how can we do this in a way, you know.
Well, I would be really curious as how what the artistic process was, because like if I remember like if I remember what I've read about Palmiotti and Gray is that they did work full script. But I have to admit that I have to imagine that the one exception to this might be Jordi Bernet, just because he does so many of them, you know.
Right.
Um, if there's one consistent artist that seems to show up over and over again, it's Jordi Bernet. But I mean,
Uh,
like,
yeah.
I have to assume that when they were like, "Hey, Darwyn, you want to draw one of these?" Darwyn might have said, "I want to do something set in Canada," you know,
Right.
during the winter. And so then they
Right.
they write that script. And but to the larger point, like what's incredible about having such a strong and well-defined character as Jonah. And when I say well-defined, he's also super surprising at times. Like you can never really tell when he's going to be like, I don't care, or
Or
suddenly
suddenly care.
suddenly care more than you could ever imagine.
Right.
Uh, uh, but that's
I mean, it's never quite
once,
as surprising when he says I don't care than
well, I mean, but it's like when you have a character that grounded and that set, because like clearly, I can't imagine, I could make guesses as to what Palmiotti and Gray, like, I'm sure they had this idea of like what triggers Jonah to action and what triggers Jonah to inaction, right? 'Cause, I mean, like to walk away from something, right?
right.
But once you have that, you can pivot that character into, especially like, and that's part of the joy of the Western genre. Like, you can pivot into so many different ways and so many different styles and so many different tones, and uh, it all works because that character is so solid, right?
Right.
And it's the same, actually, speaking to the art, it's the same thing. You can have a very cartoony one that works, and you can have one that's super realistic. There's one in here, it's in the same volume as the Darwyn Cooke one, where it's like I almost think the art is a bit too mannered. Um, I don't remember who the
Is it
artist is.
the Return to Devil's Paw?
Um, no, Outrunning Shadows. Ugh, I don't know. I know this artist. I can't remember who it is though. Did a bunch of
Yeah,
Star Wars. I know, where it almost became like you
the
can
photo
tell that it's
reference.
all photo referenced to the point where everything just seems inert, you know? I'd have to go all the way to the
Yeah, there
beginning.
were a couple where I felt I mean, I appreciate. I mean, this felt
Do you
like a
do you
change.
remember the plot of the story?
It started with burying the case with it was the one where he was trying to give it all up.
Ah,
He was burying the case with the Confederate flag on top of it, and
that's J.H. Williams.
yeah, I thought that artwork was inert. No offense to JH. I've seen other work that I thought was wonderful.
Yeah.
Um,
The cover was really good though.
oh no, no, no. That's not that's Mark Saracio. It's the one right after the hunting trip. The I'm looking at the credits right now. A crude
Okay.
offer is J.H. Williams because
So
I've
it's the
never
one
even
in between the two.
yeah, I don't remember uh
Yeah, I don't know Mark Sparacio.
I uh, Sparacio. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes my eyes don't work. Uh
No, that's okay.
anyway, but yeah, no, like yeah, somebody else talk.
Well, we were talking about these varying art styles and uh, genres, and I- it felt like a change between the first three volumes, and I read four, five, and six. Um, it felt like there may have been some editorial decision. It was like, all right, we're going to broaden this out. It's not as much just horror. We've got
Mhm.
sci-fi, you've got Edison, you've got, or maybe that was in four. Um, you've got like almost fantasy, you know. Uh, so it definitely felt like broadening out, and the art styles. It felt like uh, you know, it was a hodgepodge, you know, just a collection of things, and I like that it reminded me of Conan in a way, in that
Yeah.
um, every story was a little different, and we picked up Hex. We had some really young. We had like the really young Hex. I don't remember the name of that story, uh, but then we had Old Man Hex. Meeting his son. Uh,
Yeah.
so it really put me in mind of how Howard treated Conan. you know, he would just tell what story he wanted to tell at any time. And it could be King Conan, it could be Conan the Barbarian, it could.
Conan the Freebooter,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that it is very, very, very well, Pulp Fiction to
All right.
this. Like, I mean, like it is like, okay, we're just gonna whatever point in this man's life we want to talk about, we'll talk about. And I what I wonder about it is like I do know like this series was very popular for quite a while. And I wonder if that sort of like, we were talking about the artists coming on board. It did seem to become this thing where people were like, "Hey, I've got a free month. I'll do it. I'd love to do a Jonah Hex story." And then that as each new artist would come in, Palmiotti and Gray, and adjusting to that artist would maybe go a little more towards a fantastical thing or a sci-fi thing, or because I do think that I think that Palmiotti and Gray are the anchor that holds the series together, but I think that the influx of the artists are what causes, like, I think that the artists are coming in and saying, I want to draw a Canadian winter. Okay, we'll do that. We'll figure that out, you know? Um, but there's also that, like, I do think the Jordi Bernet stories are all, that feels like the regular issues. You know what I'm saying? He feels like the regular artist that
Yeah.
just come and that I don't, and I don't know how fast he is. Maybe they needed to bring in other people because he couldn't. Um, Particularly, I mean, in a lot of ways, I love the Jordi Bernet stuff, like the bullfighter one. I fucking love that
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Ugh,
That was I like. Um,
Yeah.
we were
Great
talking.
ending.
Yeah, we're talking about like, stories you could adapt for the stage. Like I almost think you could adapt this for the stage. I almost do.
right.
There would be some challenges, but I almost think you could. Like I love I love how simple some of these stories are. And yeah, I don't know. And there's also it's also in a lot you bring up Conan, it is very similar. The structure of these things is always very similar to Conan. It's like you're always sort of waiting for that moment when Hex is just gonna like it almost there's almost always this slow burn up to when the violence is coming, when Hex is finally
Yeah.
gonna be like, all right, fine. Anyway, I'm a big fan of this book.
Oh man.
Dead air.
No,
Dead
no. I was
air.
just it's been so long since I was there. Apparently, don't know if everybody else that I ever sent messages to on Twitter has left Twitter or if they did something to their uh direct messages because I know that I almost had Jimmy on once. And I was trying to figure out if I had an email address for him somewhere.
Of I
Because then we would
I
have
would
like
love to talk to Jimmy
I
or
know you
Justin
would. That's
about
that
how this series worked. And I would also love to talk to them about that new 52 switch and All-Star Western.
right.
You know,
Yeah. I mean that part they may or may not want to talk about because
I mean,
but
yeah, I mean,
I particularly because like the most recent omnibus has both in it. Um
it's
I'm just
wait,
looking at
that so the omnibus, you guys, I know you guys were telling me about the omnibus. It's Jonah Hex and All-Star Western, but it's branded as All-Star Western.
that's what it looks like. Let me well it says Jonah Hex All-Star Western.
Weird. Weird.
Uh I'm literally at Palmiotti's Instagram page right now and I saw it. That's
Yeah.
how I um does he have a Kickstarter going too?
He's always got a Kickstarter going.
Is that an old one?
I did one of his Kickstarters. It was for it was a Western book, um, like a female bounty hunter. Yeah, it was. I don't. I read it and I kind of read it and forgot it.
Oh.
Um,
His most recent one that looks like it just ended was with Justin Gray again,
mhm.
but it was a deep sea pulp science fiction.
There, I'm always, like Kickstarters are so hard for me
Yeah,
sometimes because I'm like, sometimes there's just too much of it.
yeah,
Like like I really admire, Sean and my friend Stephen Prince,
Yeah.
um, Monster Matador. It's like that's his thing, and he just kickstarts it every time, gets new issues out, and it doesn't feel like I don't feel like I'm inundated with it. It's not like sometimes with these bigger creators, it feels like, okay, it's a new month and I've got six new things that I want to try to, kickstart. And it's like, all right, it's too much. It feels like too much to me. So
right.
anyway, um, but I also understand that everybody's got to make a living. So, like,
Well, and I mean, particularly going back to um what we were saying about publishing and the weird market, like the advantage of a Kickstarter is you get to know before you're particularly deep into it, um, whether or not you're going to make money,
mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
um, because rather than, you know, uh, making a comic and then trying to sell it, it's okay, I'm going to sell this comic. And if I manage to sell this comic, I'm going to make this comic, which is
Hmm.
kind of like what you do in publishing. You just don't have to deal with the ever changing corporate landscape of comics publishing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that no, this is a whole different conversation I don't really want to have right now. Uh,
That's fair.
um, but anyway, sorry, I've been flipping through Bullets Don't Lie, and that last story, Seven Graves, 6 Feet Deep by Rafa Garres, or that's the artist.
Oh yeah.
That art
Yeah.
was gorgeous. It was almost a little too much. It almost felt like there was almost too much going on in each panel. Like it was one of those books where I was sort of like,
I think that's the last one I read, right? That's the last one in the in six.
uh, yeah, I think so. Yep, that's volume six. Bullets Don't Lie. Yeah, it's the one with the clan and all that stuff. And
Oh yeah, no, I totally remember. It was
yeah, it
Yeah.
was, yeah,
yeah.
I love, yeah, I love that kind of artwork. I mean, and I'm trying to think here, thinking of other stories that I wanted to talk about. I think,
Well, how
well,
about that Darwin story? Because that is one of the most, I mean, aside from it being in Canada, um, like the him kind of taking a kid under his wing
and then not
And then not.
right, like
like that.
that's just an I mean, somehow it feels right. It doesn't feel like they failed the character,
No.
right? But it's a very different Jonah Hex story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like every time you get to liking Hex, right? There's either something with a sex worker or uh, this with the kid where it's like, oh, he's a total asshole.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, wait, no. Although, as the kid says, he taught him how to deal with wolves.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the thing is like that's also one of those things where you're like, wow, is that kid gonna come back? You
Yeah.
know, I like yeah, it's so like yeah, like he's just so like
Inscrutable.
that story in particular just felt so there was so much cruelty in that story, which
Hmm.
actually with Darwin's and I always sort of feel this way about Darwin, with Darwin's sort of like cartoony, you know, art style. Um, that was weird. Uh, we're on Zoom and I put my hand up and it said put up a hand raise. Weird.
Yeah, it does that.
That's fucking strange. I don't like that stuff. But
It'll do it for a thumbs up too.
that's crazy. But no, like I always love, because Darwin, when Darwin's own work, could be really hard edged, but then it had this sort of like vaguely kind of Bruce Timmish sort of, you know, cartoony style, and it was like so. But yeah, that story in particular, man, when the kid's father dies, like that's just horrifying, and like the whole thing is just. I mean, I loved every minute of it, but it was like, wow, that story is just one gut punch after another, you know?
Well, similar to we also met was it was it in this reading or was it in the part of the reading that I hadn't done yet that we met Jonah's son?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh. I mean, yeah.
I don't know, and I love how his wife, lady, I don't know, shows up every once in a while, just in fleetingly, you know? Uh, but yeah, no, like, and the way God, yes, the story with the son is fantastic. It's so good. It's also I'm useless in this series because all I do is sit here and say, "Oh, it's so good. It's so good."
No, you're Chris Farley for this series.
Remember,
Remember
remember when they
that?
threw you into an icy lake and you were supposed to die and then you didn't. You crawled out of the ice and that was awesome. Just using that example, that's the page that's
Yeah,
open in front
yeah,
of me.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Um,
but where was that Sun story? Which one was that in? That is the one thing about this book is like it's hard to remember where the stories are.
oh yeah, because they're
Just
just
it's
like,
all so episodic, and that's not a criticism. That's just
and
like
all of it's so good.
right.
So it's not like, oh, remember that one good story. It's
Yeah.
they're all good stories. Um, so yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, I
and
there's
part of it
like
is it's also our third time, and I have noticed that sometimes, like when we hit to the third time on anything,
Yeah.
even when it's not episodic, is when it gets a
Well, this
little
is still just
dark
awesome. Yeah. It's like,
because it's like,
yeah,
what haven't I said?
I don't know. Like I think it's in volume 7, uh, where, sorry, where it's a Jordi Bernet drawn story where we get to see a little bit of Jonah's mother. The one where
Yeah.
he's got the gunfight where he's got the steel balls on his arms, and they show him as a kid where his dad made him hold the two weighted things out. God, uh, like I love how they show us a little bit of Jonah's history every once in a while,
Right.
and then tie it specifically into
We
some
got a little bit more of his Confederate past as well.
sure that he wears the
Um,
uniform as a brand.
right.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that, yeah.
Um,
Although, you know, this is a much deeper story, but like Jonah doesn't strike me as a character that carries a lot of guilt about things.
I
But
mean, I go back and forth on that. There are times where I don't feel like he carries a lot of guilt, and there are times where I think he's all guilt.
yeah, it's true.
And that's why it doesn't matter anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's guilt, and then there's kind of feeling that you're beyond repair, right?
Right.
No, I
Yeah.
don't know that he feels guilty about it, but I think he feels the weight of the things he's done and has no hope for redemption.
Well, yeah, he clearly feels no sense of any pending redemption.
Right.
He knows he's going to hell. He knows he's going to burn. He knows. And the thing is like, and in a way, his attitude towards everything is like, well, if I'm going, then anybody I think is worse than me just deserves to go there too.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah. I like, that's why, like, when I was doing that other podcast and they asked me about it, like, like, that kind of, that question would be that thing that I would want to really talk about. Like, what, what, what is the guilt? What, clearly he has no, it's sort of,
I mean, I think
the
I,
character
I mean,
himself doesn't have an ethos in terms of like political, you know,
oh, but
like,
he's got a personal ethos, and I think there's like a level where he doesn't even like the fact that he killed the Apache that wanted him killed because it
yeah,
was the son of
Petro
his
Vista.
father figure.
Hmm.
I mean, I think there's a level in which Jonah is Jonah has become this I'm just going to say it, saint of killers, since that's essentially what Ennis based the
Yeah.
saint of killers on. Um, but I don't know that he really like wants to be a killer. I think there's a level in which that story where he tried to make a new life is who he wants to be. Um,
I,
But he always finds himself in these situations where he feels like what he has to be
Hmm.
is at odds with that.
Yeah, no, look, I think that I don't know. I think I think that that story where he tries to stop, where he tries to quit. I mean, like that's sort of a real basic trope of Pulp Fiction and Westerns, where the
Absolutely.
guy, it's sort of like uh it's First Blood. It's, like I just want to get something to eat. I just want to pass through this town, and you got to push me. You got to put, like uh and then all hell breaks loose. And I think that it's something that you always come to when you're dealing with characters that are people of violence, and Jonah is defined. He defines himself by violence. The world defines him by violence. The world insists that he is defined by violence in a lot of ways, Um, and in a lot of ways, like I think it's not, I think it's not a coincidence that that is the only story where we see that. And I
Well,
think that,
I also think it's not a coincidence that didn't quite work because I
yeah,
think one of the things that makes Jonah work is that you never quite know that that's what's going on.
right.
You just kind of feel that that's going on. He doesn't take the joy in killing that they seem to want to put on him. Like
Hmm.
in some ways, he's like the best written Punisher, you know. And it makes me wonder if there have been runs on Jonah, like there have been runs on Punisher, where they just completely lose that
Well,
thread
yeah,
of this isn't
I,
actually something that he takes joy in.
I mean, I think that there is like that's an interesting thing to ask. I mean, because I also think that the setting changes that, you know, uh,
Right.
in a world where also, like my biggest problem with the Punisher is that the Punisher is actively because like the Punisher is like one of those characters that I cannot abide that character being a quote unquote hero, right? I think that that character is a villain. It was designed as a villain. It should always that character should always be a villain. Uh, like it's a complicated villain. It's a villain that we can be sympathetic about certain things, but I think that there's far too many people who get off on that idea
Right.
of I'm gonna go out and put an end to this shit.
Right.
Um, and I think that in a world that is full of Daredevils and Spider-Mans, there is that sort of mindset doesn't work for me. And
Right.
it's part of why I really disliked the switch at All-Star Western where they brought him. First of all, they move him to Gotham City, and suddenly he's involved with like the Court of Owls, and there's this whole tie-in with and I'm like, I like I like these kind of characters in worlds where this is the world, right? Like if you did a Punisher story where there were no superheroes and it was just rampant crime, I could probably start to go like, okay, I understand this character, I understand what they're doing, and I understand what the intent here is. Um, uh, a bad man versus worse men. It's the
Right.
Elmore Leonard thing, and
Right.
certainly that is what Hex
Well,
plays
and
on a
that's
lot.
that's generally when Punisher works best is when
Absolutely, absolutely.
Ennis's
But
run, Jason Aaron's run, and occasionally like Daredevil will pop up, but Daredevil pops up as like the, hey, Frank, there's a different way to do this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean,
And
like,
I
it's
bring this
also
up because Palmiotti is writing Daredevil and Punisher right now.
Yeah.
well,
I
and the
mean,
thing
for
is,
me,
go ahead.
I've said it before, to me, the Punisher works when you stick with the original origin. And, when we go back and make him already killing people in Nam, to me, that negates the origin story. It
Does
makes
it?
him much. I feel like it does. I feel like he's a good man who goes bad.
I
Well,
Whereas,
I
mean,
mean,
because the way I understand it with the Nam, he was a good man and cop who joined the army, and like the way Ennis writes all of the Nam stuff, like had to deal with ridiculous.
well, I think there's a
well, yeah,
difference. I think
but then, all right, so, but
And
then
then came
it's
home and
not the
wanted to be a good
surprise.
man again. And
Yeah.
so. What we're saying is it's exactly like Jonah Hex. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, it has a lot of
Sure.
It's 100% true. Look,
because
I
I
just
mean,
think
in that issue where we discover that like he wears the uniform as a brand,
yeah.
um, like you discover that like he joined the Southern cause pretty much exclusively because they saved him from slavery. And then when he realizes that like they're fighting for slavery,
Hmm.
and this actually I think might be a little bit later. I think this is in the volume that I'm reading now, which is the
Yeah, yeah.
eighth. It becomes wait a minute.
Well, look, I think that the Nom stuff, I think there's ways that you could have told Frank Castle and Vietnam stories that could have been interesting and relevant to what happens to him. I think that we have to be able to see that he is an exceptional soldier, right?
Right. And this is
And
also
that
where I need to ask, because I am not a Punisher aficionado. I am a Garth Ennis aficionado. Are there Punisher stories in Nam that are other than the Ennis ones?
I think that the Nom book in the 80s, didn't Frank kind of pass through that book at some point or another? I
That
don't
sounds right, but I don't know.
because then
Okay.
there was the Ennis book where he was basically like the Punisher in Vietnam, and I do take exception to that. I think that that does uh, break something. I think that like you can have him be like I said. I think that yeah, I think that you could do a Vietnam story with Frank Castle where he is a one-man army and he is doing it for some reason, save his unit, whatever, and even have like a thought balloon or a narration where he says, I have to be careful because I could see a world where I would enjoy this, you know, and then leave it at that. Because I think that Sean's right. I think that the murder of his family has to be something that snaps him. It can't be something that's an excuse, you know?
Okay.
And
I mean, I
and
guess I
I
never stopped thinking of it as snapping him.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that like I think to Sean's point, and Sean can correct me if I'm wrong, is that if he is this sort of psychotic murdering machine in Vietnam,
Right.
then what does that snap? You know, like, oh, it just makes him go back to this. Like, if that's the case, then you need to have the story where he comes home and he's like, oh no, that was wrong and I shouldn't have done that. But and instead it's like,
I, I mean, I'd have to go find it, but I mean, there is a Punisher story where, like, having come home, there are times where like he sleeps in a tent in the yard because he's dealing with the PTSD and he doesn't want to take it out. So like he does have that, I want to be this with my family and I'm having trouble with that. So I don't know.
I think I've always been sort of a like, and I'm speaking for Sean, and I shouldn't, but
No.
I've always been more fond of a cleaner sense. Like, if you want me to root for Frank Castle, then you've got to make him somebody that I want to root for. And
Right.
I think that part of the problem, and look, Garth Ennis is Garth Ennis, right? Garth Ennis has many things that are wonderful about him, and other things that I just can't stomach. Um, uh, but I think that if you want to write Frank Castle as a hero, then you have to give me some reason to see something heroic in him.
Right.
And it's not, and I think that far too often, uh, okay, I hate to bring, I think far too often people start like giving him speeches and stuff that are really just about advocating against something that people have put on that character, right?
Right.
Like I understand I understand why you would want to write the speech where he's telling the cops that you should look up to Captain America, don't look up to me, all of those things. But actually, and I will say this, I thought the scene in Daredevil Born Again, where he was in the room with all the cops who have the Punisher tattoos on their hands and shit, and he's calling them clowns, was far more effective because it wasn't, it allowed him to be just as crazy as he really is.
Right.
I kind of just rattling off shit now, and I should
No,
just stop.
no.
But
It's interesting because I'm trying to. I mean, I know you guys think that I'm often completely off on tangents, but I am in my head synthesizing, trying to figure out what I think of Jonah Hex.
see,
Be,
and I
be,
think
because there are similarities in the characters and there are differences in the characters, and um, I mean,
I tell you what the
go ahead.
big difference is to me, and maybe disagree. I think that the fact there aren't 50 billion Jonah Hex t-shirts and action figures and I think that the fact that Jonah Hex didn't become this thing that was a
Oh,
marketing
absolutely,
juggernaut,
absolutely.
Yeah.
that and also because I think that Palmiotti and Gray don't concern themselves with whether he's a hero or not.
Right.
They just write Jonah. And I
Well, and
think
that's how I feel about, really, Ennis and Cloonan are the two people that I think have nailed the Punisher the
I
best.
and I want to be clear. I think it's absolutely possible to write a really good Punisher story with that
Right.
centers the Punisher in the thing. I just think that the I remember when Sean and I went to see Punisher Warzone with Ray Stevenson playing the
Yeah.
Punisher, and that movie ended, and I think I turned to you and I said, that just made me want to see a Daredevil movie with the Punisher as the villain. And because like at no point like and I thought Ray Stevenson was actually really good in that movie.
Yeah.
Um, eh, but
Was that the one with Travolta in it too? Or is that
no,
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 that's
no.
the one with Thomas Jane.
okay?
Yeah,
I think I've
because there
seen them
was,
both exactly once.
yeah, that was the one with, I don't remember who played Jigsaw, but Jigsaw was the villain
Okay.
because he actually drops him into the glass grinding thing. And I mean, like, in a lot of ways, who's the guy who's doing it on the Daredevil show now?
John Bernthal?
Yeah.
Bernthal. Bernthal, like there's a number of times during like watching that show, because I mean I like John Bernthal a lot, and I like that show pretty well, but I think that there's a lot of trying to soften that character, you know, and I think that in a way you have to do that in sort of a mass appeal kind of product, but I don't know. Like I have so many, it's funny, but I mean, like it really does come down to this. I have so many problems with the Punisher as a character, and I have none with Jonah. And I don't know if that's the setting. I don't know if that's the way that he sort of exists, at least in this series, sort of outside of the mainstream DC universe. They bring in the other Western characters, like, and we've talked about that before, how like a lot of times, like he meets these DC Western characters, and you're like, this should not work in this book, but then it somehow does.
Right.
Um, but I don't know. All I can say is that I think that may be the key with it, is I think that there are people who and I just don't read a lot of Punisher books. I've read some of the Ennis stuff, and I agree with you. Like he probably handles Frank better than a lot of people, but
Yeah, no, Ennis is definitely the one that I've read and reread, and particularly the Welcome Back Frank, that initial 12
yeah, yeah,
issue series is just
Fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
uh,
Well, I mean, and
like
that was after,
there's a part of me that doesn't want to be laughing my ass off
yeah, yeah,
because like in part because Ennis doesn't make him a hero. At no point am I truly rooting for Frank in that book. If anything, I'm rooting for the cops that are supposed to be getting him. Well, I also understand that, oh, you're the two-person task force that is set up to take down both the Punisher and the Nucci family.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that, I mean, but I think that in part of my having come through the 90s when the
Right.
Punisher was just another dude with a bunch of pouches and a huge gun,
Right.
um, it that really
Which
soured
honestly
you.
is part of what turned me off of comics for a while. I mean
Yeah,
that
I
that
mean,
was a period where I wasn't reading a lot of comics, and
Really?
a large part of it was that the Punisher was the thing, and I didn't get why the Punisher was the thing.
yeah.
I was just
Uh,
waiting for him to start shooting jaywalkers.
Well, that's what gives us Azrael. We want to get to that.
well, yeah,
Well,
but
but initially, Azrael really turned me off because I was young enough and autistic enough that I didn't get the satire.
oh,
I,
sure.
I mean,
But I
I
mean, like,
never really cared for it, even after I got it. But
I
you
don't
know,
love it now, but at least I understand the satire of what Danny O'Neill
right,
was doing with them.
sure.
You
Look,
know,
look, there is a uh like that whole period at DC, which was, Nightfall and also the death of Superman. It was like they were trying to make points, you know, and
right,
they all, it's like, oh, you think that Batman should be this, or you think Superman should be this. Okay, we're going to give that to you, and then we know you're just going to be waiting for the real guy to come back.
right.
right.
And and the thing is like I know there's tons of people who are angry about the death of Superman thing. Well, they just brought him back, and it's like, did you
You
think they
really thought
weren't gonna bring him
anything
back?
else was
Yeah,
gonna happen?
yeah. Like it's not like, and like I remember when that book came out. like I think it was Mike Carlin or somebody was like, of course we're gonna bring him back. Like it's Superman, you know, like and like nobody ever reported on that. And I don't know. I think that, but I there that's not my favorite era of DC because everything felt so reactionary. Everything felt like it was a response to what was going on at Image.
It was.
And well, I mean, yeah, but it's also like just tell better stories, like
Well, yeah,
stop. I
that
mean,
that
like
would certainly be
yeah, that and like
ideal.
that's all I'm saying is that it's not my favorite era, but like it was totally a response to Image and the Punisher and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do think to bring it back to Jonah, like the key is to it's like I said, I think Palmiotti and Gray write this in the best tradition of like Elmore Leonard, like I was saying, bad man
Hmm.
versus worse men. They never concern themselves with whether Jonah is a hero or not. He's just Jonah. And
Well, and
I
I
think you're
think
right. I think you're right about the Punisher that he is best written in that manner.
well,
Um,
but I also like you brought up the t-shirts and stuff, and those are the real world reasons why they're different. I think the in-universe reasons that they're so different is Jonah is never placed in a situation where he's expected to explain.
mm-mm.
And again, like I've seen situations where Punisher gets put in that situation. He's like, yeah, no, I'm not explaining. And that's really the only way to do it, right? But when you've got Captain America trying to convince him, Frank, you're better than this. I
Frank's like,
mean, it can
no, I'm
be,
not.
yeah, it can work a little bit, but I mean, in some ways, I think Punisher being involved in on the side of Captain America in Civil War is one of the things that I mean, Punisher should have just sat that whole thing out.
Yeah, no, like,
And not
well,
sat that whole thing out as in somebody invited him to come and he sat it out. Marvel should have known we're just not Punisher doesn't exist right now.
like, what? Okay. Oh, here comes Sean's like, I don't have anything to say about it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Sean.
I don't I don't need to have a conversation. I think that
I feel like I'm jumping into something that you guys have talked about ad nauseum
uh,
already.
probably, but I think that I
And
think
Sean's
that
like, I'm
the
done. I'm done.
I think that the best way to handle a character like this that can have all sorts of political ramifications in the real world, right? Because like Jonah does too. I mean, like he wears a Confederate outfit. There's it's the West. It's like there's a lot of racial issues and
Mhm.
Indian issues and things like that. Is but that they write him as completely apathetic to anything political.
Well,
It
I mean, I
is
think it's
all about whatever is happening in front of him
right.
and the injustice that he perceives or doesn't perceive, or whether somebody has paid him to do something,
Mhm.
or and I think that by writing the character in that manner, I never think about it.
Right.
I
Well, I
might
also
it might float in my psyche a little
right.
bit, but it makes everything subtextual rather than trying to because then I think this is the problem that I have with the Punisher is that now everybody tries to make that stuff textual rather than
Right.
subtextual, and that
Right.
whether no matter what your stance is on it, it just is like the character
Well,
really isn't strong enough to carry this,
I mean to put it kind of in more psychological terms, I think Jonah is willfully unself-reflective and ignorant of his own motives. And I think that like going back to running out on his kid and the episode or the issue where the kid finds him and then like teaching the kid to kill wolves, but then walking away
Just
from him.
leaving him.
Right. In both of those situations, he saw, and for that matter, you know, this is why he gets close, but never really close to Tallulah. This is why, you know, anytime where somebody might ask him either literally or just by their continued existence at his side to explain himself in any way, shape, or form is like the only thing that he's scared of. The possibility that he could have to look at himself and go, why do I do this? And this is again why the one story where he was trying not to didn't really work because it came out of nowhere. We didn't know why he was trying not to. He didn't actually show any self reflection or whatnot, you
Yeah.
know. You didn't see the growth that got him there. You didn't see you'd already met his son, so it's like if you're doing this, is this before your son was born? Are you gonna meet your wife here? Or is it even worse? This is after your son was born and you're doing this, but you're doing it without your kid? I mean, what?
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I think I don't know. I think that I
But I
think that
also think that that's a way that character resonates because like being self-reflective is scary. For that matter, those of us who are actually like healthy and truly self-reflective and work on making ourselves our best possible selves are often most aware of how scary it is. So seeing the level at which a person will go to avoid having to to look at themselves in the mirror,
mhm.
um I don't want to say there's a comfort in it, but there's a draw to it.
Yeah.
There's a
No,
draw to it.
yeah.
It's like, oh, wait a minute. So I could be blissfully unaware of all of the things that bring me pain too. All I have to do is shoot a lot of people. Let me think. Maybe.
Well, I mean that's clearly part of it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think I don't know.
I'm starting
Sean,
with the man in the mirror.
You're
are
I'm
starting
you
with
asking
man in
asking
the
him to
mirror.
him
change his
to change
ways.
his ways? Hey man, no message could have been any clearer.
Yeah, but I mean, look, if you look like Jonah Hex, you don't want to spend a lot of time with the mirror.
Also true. Well, I mean, really, if you just turn your head a little bit, it wouldn't be so bad.
Right?
I
Kind of like
do I do,
Two-Face.
You
I
turn your
actually
head a
yeah.
little bit, then you got that rugged Eastwood thing going.
Well, I actually that is actually
Jonah
one of
Hex
my
can't
favorite.
eat soup.
I mean, he could, but it'd be kind of entertaining.
You want some soup?
He's got to lean his head over.
Now we gotta ask somebody to do us a Jonah Hex eating soup pinup.
Ah. Now, I think that it's funny. Sean brought that up. That there is that sort of two-face element to it, and but I think it's like I'm always struck when we get the right profile
Hmm.
of Jonah and how like universally all of these artists when you see his right profile he's just fucking handsome man. You can you and then he turns to the left profile and it's like, oh, ooh, it's I don't know, there's something, like I don't know. And then, the other thing is like I was thinking the other day about the amount of damage that this guy takes in these books.
Oh my
That
God.
the Sawbone story
Yeah.
where the dude like cuts off his toes, and you're like, how does he even walk now? It's like just sheer cussedness keeps him from having a limp. It's like, okay. I mean, like
I mean,
that
that
tells
sounds
you,
about right.
yeah. I mean, like but I mean, like, it's true. Like it's sort of like, when people say that Batman's superpower is his anger, which I don't necessarily think is true, but like, if you really have to assign a superpower to Jonah Hex, it's sheer cussedness, you know, just like, and that's the word I'd use because it's a Western. It's just like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not
Well, and
gonna,
it's just, I mean, it's also so much more than like gumption
yeah.
or grit.
Yeah.
I mean, among other things, like,
Well, gumption and grit have some sort of positive image.
right,
Like
that's my point.
Right.
cussedness is just like, oh, that
Well,
guy's
and
just too
also
angry to die.
like so, with Batman, you sometimes feel like he's willing the pain away,
Sure.
right? With Jonah Hex, I don't think that he doesn't feel it. I think he's in just ridiculous amounts of pain and he doesn't fucking care.
Yeah. And it just
Pain don't hurt.
pain don't
He's
hurt.
like,
Yeah.
you look at my face, you think that that doesn't hurt?
Well, yeah. Like it's like, like I had a red hot tomahawk shoved into my face. Do you think cutting off my toes is gonna
Right, right. It hurts. So, what's your point? Let me stick you with this.
Yeah. No, I think that I don't know. I think, but that but you're right. Because like people say that Batman's his anger is his superpower. No, no, no. It's his intellect.
Yeah.
100%. Because it is exactly what you're saying. He's willing away the pain. It's like right now, I think it's in Detective, they have he's been in he's been infected with some sort of like virus or something like that. And
Yeah.
they actually say that his skull is fractured and it's being held together by his cowl.
Oh,
And he's just like, I'm not. But the whole story is written from that perspective. He's just willing the pain away.
is
And
this
it's
the
like,
new Matt Fraction run?
yeah, I think so.
No, no. That
No,
Fraction's
Fraction's
doing
on
Batman.
Batman.
Yeah.
I
Oh, I'm
can't
sorry.
remember who's writing, but it's a detective thing. It's somebody has taken the Scarecrow formula and turned it into a thing that removes all fear. So like there's been this like they had this rash of all the scientists that were working on it. Like one lady jumped out of an airplane. She went skydiving and just didn't put on her parachute because she wasn't afraid. It's like, and now he's got like 22 hours before he has to isolate himself because he becomes uh contagious with this thing. It's fascinating. I've had so many people be like, "Oh, you should totally read Absolute Batman," and I'm like, I don't have any interest in that. And plus,
I mean,
the
I've read enough to know that it's good, but it's a different Batman.
yeah,
It's a different universe.
I don't, I don't like. Maybe it's my
Oh,
own.
it is Tynion
Yeah, I don't
doing
care.
detective again. No,
I
that can't
don't.
be Tynion
No, I don't think it
because
reads
that's
like a whole new point of view on the whole thing, quite honestly.
right.
Um,
That's because I'm at the wrong end of the run here.
and look, I only read Batman and Detective. I all of the ancillary stuff I just ignore. I have no idea what's going on in DCKO or any of that shit.
Yeah, I'm not
Uh,
doing DCKO, but I, I
uh,
I'm I'm weird. Is I like try not to read Batman and Detective except in collected runs, and only read Batman in like the mini series that that looks like it will be good most of the time because I just don't like Batman enough to want to always have 2 to 4 Batman books a month
Well,
among.
you know, that to me, that's my problem. I
Oh,
love
it's Tom
Batman.
Taylor right now with Michael
Yeah.
Janin.
There's there's just too much. I'd
Right.
like to be able to read one Batman book a month. I'd like to be able to read one Superman. I mean, I actually get a few of the Superman books, but
Right.
um,
Well, yeah, no, right
I
now I'm
I
doing just the Batman
but
fractions.
I've been gone from Batman for so long. Oh, I did just subscribe to the to Fraction just because I like
Yeah.
Fraction.
that I
Um,
would say
but
like
I'm
right
afraid to
now,
jump back in because
Yeah.
it's like Spider-Man. Oh my gosh, the Spider-Man
Right.
continuity is
Yeah.
I like this is my old man rant. It's like if like and I've told you guys this. Like I love Miles Morales. I think Miles Morales is a fucking amazing character. I really wish Miles Morales was in his own universe, you know,
Yeah.
where he is the Spider-Man because like I
I
don't
did like it better that way. Of
I think I thought it was more
course,
resonant. I thought
I loved the Ultimate Universe period. I was kind of
yeah.
sad when they
yeah.
killed it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, and like that's something. If I ever had the chance to say that to Michael or Brian on our little thing, I would say that. I'd say that that was the greatest thing ever. That whole run from Peter into Miles all the way to
Hmm.
the end, everything that you wrote was
That is my
brilliant.
favorite Spider-Man run period is
Period.
the Ultimate Spider-Man through
Yeah.
the end of Ultimate End.
But this is what I'm going to say. I don't need Ben Riley. I don't need that Wreck Rupp thing. I don't need Mary Jane to be Venom. I don't need like why I don't need there to be like 50 different goblins. I don't like like I feel like instead of thinking of a solid story to tie this into Jonah Hex is like that idea of like, look, you can come up with any different number of stories that work as long as your central character is solid, right?
Right.
You can put Peter Parker into any number of things. You don't need to just keep coming up with new shit, right? And
Well, I
plus, I
think
don't
what
understand.
happens is it'll work really well once, and then everybody wants to
But then, and then
like
you're stuck with it, right?
right.
Like, and I remember when they brought Miles over to the mainstream Marvel universe, and I was like, this is such a mistake.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to actually weaken the character, and I think it has. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the character is still strong, but I mean, I just think that like I stopped reading it because it was just like I don't.
I haven't stopped reading it, but I have a tendency to have it pile up and
Mhm.
read it in binges rather than
And the people got angry with me and they're like, well, the book wouldn't exist if they didn't bring him into the mainstream universe. And I'm like, that's nuts. The book exists because it sold well. And
right.
you could have left him as an alternate,
Hmm.
hey, the multiverse, like
Hmm.
everybody wants multiverse shit. There it is. There's a solid multiverse book there that you could have continued doing, and you could have had crossovers every once in a while. I liked the two Spider-Man crossovers that they
Right.
did. I thought that those were really fun. I also loved that that was how Miles got web shooters. Was that Peter built them for him and gave it to him, and
Right.
and all that stuff is like people they start like I just think that they're. I was having a conversation like somebody that whole thing came out about Tim Seeley and the Magic series that he did and the death threats he started getting and he had to leave Twitter. Did you see all this?
No, I mean I knew that he'd left Twitter, but I didn't know I'd never
That
got
that
into the details.
apparently he wrote some one-off or two issue Magic, Liliana Rasputin
Right.
uh story and had something, like had her go back into hell and be subjected, and people started like saying, it's all right, we're gonna kill you, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, and it was just I was sitting there and I was talking to somebody online, and I was just like, I understand having a conversation about a storyline. I understand not liking a storyline. I understand having a character you feel connection to and that you don't like the choices that a character made. But it feels like there is this terminally online thing that is just rampant now, where people can't seem to understand that it's just a fucking story, right?
Right.
You, and it's like, uh, and I know that that's always been there, but now
I
because,
think there's also an element where, uh, certainly during my lifetime, um, we've become a lot more accepting of a lot of violence that
well, I mean, I think
I
Annie
because
don't
Wilkes was the
understand how
hero of Misery.
I don't know how we just accept it,
well, look, and
you
it's
know.
but it's that it's it really is like I was listening to something and they were talking about uh not to get not to open a can of worms, but they were talking about a lot of this shooters and stuff, and that they're almost like that they come from all political factions,
Hmm.
but they're all terminally online. That
Right.
they're all living in a world where you can throw around things and threats and say shit to people that you would never say to them in person, and that
They're
it's that
also they also tend to be gun people long before they do things with guns, if that makes sense.
yeah,
There are very few of them that go out and buy guns to go take their actions. They already have them.
sure,
So it's
but there's
already on the
also
table for them.
but there's also very few people who have guns who go out and just start randomly shooting people.
No, I understand that,
But what I'm saying is that these things happen in cycles, and these
right.
things that to me is like obviously gun control is an issue that we need to address, but it's also that there's these worlds, and that like we get into the world of the internet, right? Where you can find your group and you can find support and you can find, and all of that is wonderful, right? But it also starts to warp into this thing that warps sensibility, the terminally online. This researcher was talking about that and he kept using that phrase, so that's why I'm using it.
No, no, I understand.
I pretend that like you become inundated with something that is fundamentally not real, right? And
Um,
and that that is warping the sensibilities of people who are susceptible to it, right?
I
And
mean,
I think,
I can pull this to Jonah Hex because I mean,
yeah,
one of the last times.
please do,
Well,
please
no,
do.
no, one
Yeah.
of the last times we saw this sort of, and obviously on a smaller scale, in large part because we were a much smaller nation. Um, was the Old West because the level of propaganda in uh, particularly Southern newspapers, but also most Northern Democratic newspapers in the pre and immediately post Civil War era was ridiculous. The idea of truth on I mean it was really the last time in U.S. history where truth was as flexible as it is today. And the West actually became significantly less civilized before it became more civilized because it became this place for the people who wanted to live like that, who believed that civilization had fallen apart and it was every man for themselves and whatnot to go to. Um, And like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's always a mixture of things. Like the broken down
Well,
information is a big deal, but you also wind up needing to have things to feel strongly about. You need to have feelings of isolation or
Sean just left.
we
But
pissed off Sean.
I
No,
think
no,
that
no. I'm
um
here.
I think that there is this, look, I don't want to, I think
Yeah.
that there is a cyclical nature to society that
Oh,
people
absolutely.
who are in it never can see, right?
Well, because it seems to be about every 80 years or so, which is a
I think
lifespan.
it I think it's 60, 70, yes, uh like things happen all the time, and that I
Right.
think that and things that I think that as a society we're always looking for very simple answers uh to every question, right? And answers that shore up our own point of view, right?
Right.
And that's human. That is part of the human condition. That and that I think that in the reality of everything is usually far more complicated than we
Yeah.
really want to grapple with.
Yeah.
And because then if we grapple with the reality of it,
Unless we love
then we,
comic books, we're all about complicated things in comic
well, I
books.
mean, like to tie this back into Jonah Hex, I think that what this book, I think what this book does is it often presents really complicated things. Like
I wasn't
I'm
being facetious.
yeah, yeah, no, no. I think that well, I mean, but also that novels do the same thing,
Right.
art does that. Good art.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that, and I do think that there is pressure in certain ways to make uh, art feel streamlined to what your point of view is rather than try to embrace complications. But I mean, I think trying to tie this back into Jonah Hex is I think too there was the one story where there was the girl whose family was murdered and then she wanted to kill the whole town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then Jonah was like, mm-mm,
Yeah, that
no,
wasn't the boy. It wasn't the
it
girl. It
was
was the boy.
a
yeah,
boy.
And
Yeah,
then he
yeah,
did. And then Jonah.
came after him. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and it's like that's the I think that that is because like what was great about that story is like all the way up we understood his pain, we understood his anger. Jonah understood his pain, Jonah understood his anger, and then he just went too far. And it's
Right.
like I think that there's like more storytelling like that is good for our society. And that's what I'm going to say because I have to get off now. Jonah Hex is good for our society. Amen.
Sounds good.
yay.
For Mark Pracht, for Sean Harklerode, this has been the Pulp Blotter on 22 panels. We will see you after the next page.